Mr. Deputy Chairman, sir, I have been listening with rapt attention to the speeches that have been made, beginning with the effective intervention of the LOP and all the other leaders. And one thing is very clear. There is a very broad consensus in this House, cutting across party lines, rising above party politics, that something urgently needs to be done to actually grapple with the problem in Kashmir Valley. And there is also a great deal of sympathy for what is happening there. One thing is quite clear, sir. Since we last debated this in the House here on the 18th of July, the situation has deteriorated. We were hoping that within 8 or 10 days it would pass off, but what has happened is more and more people have died. The death toll is now over 60. 150, 200 people have been blinded apparently, and thousands have been injured. Let me start by saying that I agree with my friends here. Those pellet guns have got to be banned. Just stop those pellet guns. They've become a symbol of an extremely negative situation. Some alternative must be found. The committee may take, Rajnathji, it may take another month before you get the committee report. But surely before that, you can take some initiatives. And just stop those guns, because they are really creating terrible turmoil, and young people particularly, who may not be even actually involved, they are also getting caught up. Now, what has happened in this 32 days of curfew, there's been a breakdown of civil administration. Essential services are broken down, the medical systems are broken down, educational systems are broken down, the schools and colleges are all closed, and there's a massive humanitarian problem. I think before we get on to the politics, let us understand the dimensions of the humanitarian problem that faces us in Jammu and Kashmir. And he's right, not from now, for the last 25 years, ever since this ill-conceived insurgency or whatever you want to call it began in 1989, how many tens of thousands of people have lost their lives? How many widows are there who are wailing? How many children there are who are orphaned? How many kabristan ban gaye hain gaon mein? This has happened to this because of this unfortunate resort to militancy, and also because of certain mistakes made by this side also. Now it's essential, sir, that law and order must be restored. You must have a proper civil administration there. I understand even the secretariats are not functioning properly. People's lives are being disrupted. And this is a basic responsibility of the state government. Because law and order is a state subject. The government of India can and must help whenever necessary. But basically, the state government has got to be more active and more effective in running the administration. And that, unfortunately, has not happened. In the last 30 days, the state government has not come out with any particular initiative or any particular action. And the impression is going around that the government virtually is disappearing or is not active. And that is a very, very wrong impression to have. Because once a society starts unraveling, then you never know where it will stop. So I today want to, with your permission, last time I spoke from the heart. Today I want to speak from the heart and the head also. I want to place before this Honourable House some factors which perhaps may not be fully known and may be a little uncomfortable, but whatever I will say are based upon fact. First thing is, we have to introspect. Why is it that thousands and thousands of young people are embarked on a path that can only bring death and destruction to themselves and their loved ones? Why is this happening? Why is it that this is spread not only in the towns where it used to be concentrated, but in the rural areas? Why is it that boys barely into their teens are coming out of their houses and facing these fires? What has happened? Why is the psyche of Kashmir so deeply hurt and deeply mortified that they are prepared to take this path? We know that they are being motivated. We know where they are being motivated from. We know where these Facebook, internet campaigns are going. We know where finances also come to some extent. We know where arms come from. We know all of that. But that has happened for many years. Why now suddenly has the situation blown sky high? I think we've got to introspect very carefully and see what it is. Because apart from fighting the fire that is raising now, please remember, Jammu and Kashmir is an extremely complex and complicated affair. There is no magic bullet that will solve it overnight. Everybody wants a solution. I've been involved in it ever since it started, even before partition. And I know that there is no simple solution. But that does not mean that we can sit back and say, no, no, this has to go. We have got to put our heads together and see what sort of consensus we will take. Now let me take 2 or 3 things. First of all, we insist Jammu and Kashmir is an internal affair. Okay, it is an internal affair, I agree, obviously. But let us not forget that 50% of the original state of Jammu and Kashmir is not under our control. The state of Jammu and Kashmir, for which my father signed the instrument of accession, was 84,000 square miles. Today we have hardly 42,000 square miles are in our control. 42,000 square miles are not under our control. And that not only is it in Pakistan, we understand that vast swaths of land have been either leased or in some way alienated to China. So when we say we won't speak to Pakistan, does it mean that we have legitimized that? Does it mean that we've accepted that? यहाँ कहते हम नहीं बात करेंगे, we won't talk. आप नहीं बात करेंगे तो इसका ये अर्थ निकला कि आपने मान लिया, जो उन्होंने दबा लिया वो मान लिया आपने. इसलिए ये कहना कि हम बात नहीं करेंगे, this is not a mature response. I quoted last time Mao Zedong's dictum, ta, ta, tan, tan, fight, fight, talk, talk. You've got to keep the dialogue going. I agree, it's very frustrating. It will take a long time. But you cannot say, I will not talk, because it is in our own interest to talk. We also, if they are showing interest in the people of Kashmir, why are we not interested in the welfare of the people of Gilgit, of the people of Baltistan, in the people of POJK? So, why is it that whatever we've lost, and we are on the defensive? So I think, first of all, we say it's an internal matter, but that is an oversimplification. It is not only an internal matter, there is a very major international aspect to this. There's Pakistan, there's China, and therefore we have to continue with the processes of dialogue. I'm not going into the details of what can be done, because that will take much too long, but I'm making this point. And I think it is a point that needs to be made and needs to be understood, because we sometimes very sort of blithely say, it's an internal matter, hamara kuch nahi hai. We must realize what this means. Secondly, sir, and I know this might make some people uncomfortable, we say Jammu and Kashmir is an integral part of India. Of course it is. The day my father signed the instrument of accession, it became an integral part of India. There's no doubt about it. 27th October, I was in the room. I was in the house when the accession was signed. However, please remember something more. My father acceded for 3 subjects: defense, communications and foreign affairs. He signed the same instrument of accession that all the other princely states signed. But all the other states subsequently merged. Jammu and Kashmir did not merge. Jammu and Kashmir's relationship with the rest of India is guided by Article 370 and the state constitution that I signed into law. So, yes, it's an integral part of India, but we must realize that from the very beginning, Jammu and Kashmir, rightly or wrongly, I'm not going into the politics, whether it should have been done or not, that is a different debate for historians. But the factual position is that Jammu and Kashmir has been given a special position. Now that special position, from the original 3 subjects, there's been a whole series of developments. Some may call them positive developments of integration. Other people may say, as Yechuriji said, negative developments of reducing autonomy. That is a question of which way you look at it. But the fact of the matter is, there was the political agreement in 1952, not 53, the 52, Sheikh Abdullah Jawaharlal agreement. There was the adoption of the state constitution. In 1957, 26th January, I signed that constitution. Subsequently, there have been a plethora of presidential orders which have gradually applied increasingly number of entries from the union list to the state. So this is a process that has been going on for a long time. Then in 1975, there was another political agreement between Sheikh Abdullah and Indira Gandhi, and subsequently there's been many commissions, as has been mentioned, as the LOP mentioned. There were round tables. Dr. Manmohan Singh set up round tables. There were working groups. Our chairman chaired one of those working groups. So much was done. There were interlocutors. Where are all those reports? What has happened to them? Some action has been taken, I agree. But politically, we are still up in the air. There is still an uncertainty with regard to the exact status of Jammu and Kashmir and its relationship with the Indian Union. It is an integral part of India, no doubt about that. But what exactly the relationship will be, in many federal countries it varies. Even China has one state, two systems. For Hong Kong, they have a different system. So integral part doesn't necessarily mean that it will be exactly the same as everything else. And that is not what it is. So this is an unresolved matter. The longer we keep it unresolved, the more confusion there will be. This is something, Rajnath ji, which the government of India will have to bite the bullet at some point in time and try and clinch this issue. So on the one hand, we say it's an internal matter, it is, but it is an integral part of India, of course it is, but the exact relationship remains. And also, Jammu and Kashmir is a single state, yes, but as it was mentioned by Shamsher Singh Manhas and mentioned by other people, there are three clear-cut regions there. There's Jammu, there's Kashmir, there's Ladakh. There were 5 regions actually. 2 regions are now not under our control, POJK and Gilgit-Baltistan. And there are these 3 regions. And they have their own problems. And the youth in those regions have their own aspirations, which will not necessarily coincide with each other. So therefore, I would submit, the point was well taken, that where we have Jamhuriyat, democracy, we have Insaniyat, humanity, we have Kashmiriyat. Let us add 2 more. Jammuiyat, not Jamhuriyat, Jammuiyat and Ladakhiyat. They are also parts of the state. They cannot be brushed aside as being not important. I agree that the crisis at present is in the Kashmir Valley. But please remember that whatever happens in one region, as our friend Ghulam Nabi Azad was the first Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir from Jammu, from the Jammu region, in 70 years. After Dogra rule, the first time somebody from Jammu became Chief Minister there. And he knows what happens in Jammu, what happens in Kashmir. You remember that Amarnath Yatra disaster that took place? Sir? The Amarnath Yatra, that disaster that took place, it started in Kashmir, then in Jammu. For months and months the thing was free. So it is not as if you can brush aside the other 2 regions. They have their own problems. They have their own aspirations. And any overall settlement of Jammu and Kashmir will have to take into consideration the varying political aspirations of the 3 regions. I'm just leaving it at that. I don't want to spell it out further. But this is something, because Gajendra Gadkar Commission we set up in 1967 for redressing regional imbalances. Chief Justice of India, brilliant man. In 77, Sikri Commission, another Chief Justice of India. So many commissions have set up. But still the matter is still unclear. So why I am making all these points is not in order to score any political points, but simply to submit to this Honourable House, through you, sir, that there are these many dimensions of the problems in Jammu and Kashmir. There is the humanitarian dimension, there is the internal, external dimension, there is the dimension of the special position of Jammu and Kashmir, and there is the dimension of the regional imbalances and regional problems in Jammu and Kashmir. So when we now are determined, Rajnath ji, to now address the problem in an integrated fashion, we have to keep in mind these various dimensions. That is really what I wanted today to put before the House, because I think perhaps I'm in a position, better position perhaps than most, to be able to be quite clear with regard to these various factors. Yes, sir, economic development is very important. There is no doubt about it. The Prime Minister talks about Vikas, development, and as has been mentioned, AIMS is there, IITs are there, IIMs are there, central universities are there, and these are all very, very welcome. Employment, tourism, handicrafts, horticulture, so much can be done in the valley. But it is not only an economic problem. It is a political problem also. This has got to be accepted. Please remember that. If you look upon it only as an economic problem, giving this package and so many thousand, you can do it. You should do it. We have to do it. But that is not going to solve the problem. It is a political problem. It is a complex political problem. And today we are facing a situation where there is widespread alienation among the people of the valley. Young people, intellectuals, everybody seems to be going through some kind of an inner torture. So, sir, we have got to put our heads together, we've got to put our hearts together, and we've got to do something concrete. An all-party delegation is a good idea, but I would submit, sir, let us not go there in a hurry. Let you not go there in a hurry. You have to do some groundwork before you go. अगर आप सिर्फ जाएं वहाँ और महबूबा जी और उनके मंत्रियों से और चीफ सेक्रेटरी से मिल के वापस आ जाएं, उसका कोई लाभ नहीं होगा. You have to do a lot of groundwork. When you go, you should be able to meet a wide spectrum of people. That work has to be done. But I would suggest to the government that what is now needed is an empowered group that can take decisions, not only make recommendations, take everybody's views, but then some decisions have to be taken. Because Dr. Manmohan Singh ji, during his tenure, with all those excellent round tables that he set up, there's a whole plethora of excellent advices, but not only on development, also on politics. So it's a political problem, it's an economic problem, it's a humanitarian problem. And sir, I would close by saying that this is not only a Kashmiri tragedy, it is a national tragedy. What is happening in Kashmir today, I remember just the day before that event, Srinagar was packed. You could not get a single room. Khach bhara hua tha. The boulevard was packed, the Mughal gardens were packed. It seemed as if everything was going finely. And then suddenly this event happened and the whole situation has deteriorated. We cannot allow it to deteriorate. We've got to stop the deterioration. We've got to get together and we must get out of the negative spiral in which the valley is going. And for this, I'm sure all of us will be prepared to support the government in any positive step. The LOP has also said, everybody else has said, we are prepared to cooperate. But then something concrete needs to be done this time so that we can douse the fire that is devouring the most beautiful valley in the world. And I will close, sir, Tripathi ji quoted Urdu. I will close with a Sanskrit verse from the Vedas, which exhorts us. Let us think together, let us work together, let us achieve together, let there be no hatred between us. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karvavahe, tejasvina vaditamastu ma viddishavahe. Thank you.
Sorry, workman or worker. इसके डेफिनेशन के लिए आप स्टैंडिंग कमेटी को भेजे राज्यसभा में. यही हमारे जो पहले के पार्लियामेंट्री अफेयर्स मिनिस्टर थे रूडी साहब, और वो पेंडिंग है, अभी भी आप देख लीजिए आपके पास.